Good evening, everybody. This is Last Minute Movies. Tonight, we'll be talking about a film that is long overdue, a testosterone-driven masterpiece that is literally the holy grail of action cinema as of last decade or so. Which is
I'd probably say it's the best action film I've ever seen. It's hard to describe unless you've seen it.
So, wait. We came here to talk about really specific things, right? In this movie, what makes it so beautiful, what makes it stand out, is that you can learn from every part of production and how it was approached technically, and just become a better filmmaker just from doing that. And
for sure.
I'm talking about, obviously, cinematography, obviously editing, but then there's sound and color grading that are just fucking superb. And we can talk about that later, but I also wanted to mention acting, because not a lot of that is broken down. Like, people don't necessarily go past Tom Hardy or like Furiosa's character and how all of those things were executed.
Because these actors are able to tell so much. And that's also a testament to like the script as well, or allegedly lack of script. But where most things are just told visually and with audio. Like the first half of the movie, like Max is basically just like grunting.
Yep.
He's not even really speaking. He's kind of just like,
dude, he doesn't get to do anything until minute 30. And like he just tries to survive until minute 30. It's pretty intense. Like the movie's almost not about him. He's only there to kind of give that main thread of narrative, to give us some perspective. But then as the movie keeps going, like, many people talked about this, like, Furiosa is the really main character of the movie because she goes through an actual change, right? But to me, like, what confirms that the most is that there are literally scenes where Tom Hardy does things and we don't actually see his perspective doing that, like when he blows up the bullet farmer. You know, like, it happens completely off screen, and we're actually with Furiosa watching that happen. And I know that her angle is the most suspenseful in that situation, but, you know, like, that's an attribute of a main character, to follow the main character's perspective. So,
but I would also say that it's an attribute of a main character when it opens with him and you can hear his internal dialogue as well, which you only get from Max. So the whole debate on whether who's the main character, in my opinion, it's just kind of a pointless debate. Can't we have two protagonist-based characters?
We can.
Like, yeah, I mean, we've seen that a lot. We see that all the time, you know. And to be honest, I would actually go and say that it doesn't even matter. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
In my opinion, like, the movie is about, like, a situation and people trying to redeem themselves in society.
Nicholas Hoult, he played Nix, the war boy, who is the first character to require Mad Max's blood. And, you know, many people take his blood throughout the movie in many ways, but he's the first one.
That's kind of a theme that happens.
Yeah. But there's just moments that his character brings with his acting that complete the world for me, and, like, without those moments, the world would not feel nearly as textured and nearly as engulfing as it is. You know, like, the visuals and everything is great, but if your actors believe that what's happening on screen is real and they live in that world and have those moments, and if they're written well, it can really add. And I just feel like his character also goes through an arc that is entirely different from Furiosa or Max. You know, Max barely has an arc. Furiosa has a full redemption thing going on, and, like, you know, she gets broken halfway through in the most spectacular scene that makes everything go wrong. That I've ever seen in movies. And then, you know, but he, right, he believes in Immortal Joe. He follows that religion faithfully as a warrior, and, you know, he's fucked. He's committed to that world, and he wants to die in Valhalla, and he wants to die a glorious death. Like, in fact, the first maybe 20 minutes of the movie, whenever Max is not on screen, he kind of presents the moving force behind the action, and we're very much with that. And then every single time the motherfucker tries to, like, do what Immortal Joe is asking him, is just not happening. You know, so he has a full turnaround. He's like, he failed him. You know, he couldn't do that. He will not go to Valhalla. He's not gonna go to his version of heaven. And it's like, we feel that showing up through the acting, but then throughout the movie, he discovers the values of all these other people, of the wives that ran away, and he realizes that there's other ways to do things, that he literally renounces his faith, and also ends up having a redemption arc. in the end.
I mean, his character is very important because he kind of like sets the world building of this story. Like everything that you're feeling from, you know, Immortan Joe, his entire thing, his weird cult following shit that he has, like it's all like it's all, you kind of all see it through the lights of the lens of him.
Yeah.
If it's not the best, it's one of the best ways I have ever seen its reveal of information in a film. It's pretty much all done through visuals. Pretty much it's all done through character work. It's all done through action. You know, none of it is done through like, you know, heavy dialogue and exposition.
Yeah.
Like it's all done through characters' actions.
There's little to no exposition in a film, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's visual storytelling, and I think that this film has done visual storytelling almost in the best way. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is my favorite film of all time. I love it to death, but it's not. But I would say that even for films where I would say that I find better or I like better personally, I still don't know if they have their reveal of information that's even better than this film. Like, you know, for example, a film I love greatly, I love Fellowship of the Ring. You know, it's no secret Lord of the Rings is my favorite trilogy of all time.
Yeah.
But there's some heavy-ass exposition in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it works for that kind of story. But I think, you know, it's also based off a book, so I get it. But I've never seen reveal of information like in Mad Max Fury Road. I mean, even like even in the opening, like the opening fucking shot where he's just standing there before he like stomps on the lizard, we understand who this person is. He's all like covered. We're gonna just start jerking this movie off. Like he's just standing there silhouetted, like the world looks like it's on fire, like the dirt, and it's all reddish, and the sky just stands out, and you see like this dark silhouetted character with his car that's been banged up and all shit like that. You instantly understand.
Banged up is an understatement. He is fucked.
Oh yeah, he's like, fucked in his car.
His ghosts of his past fucked him so much that his entire arc in the movie is not really emotional. He literally manages to say his name in the end of the movie and have like a honest to God somewhat of a conversation, and that feels like a triumph for us. You know?
Well, which is why I'm saying that I disagree a little bit with the notion that Mad Max. Why did I say Mad Max? I mean, he is Mad Max, but why Max doesn't really have a character arc. I think he does. I mean, I don't think it's as in your face as like Furiosa or anything like that, but I think it's there. I think it's you know, it's subtle. It's you know, man regaining his humanity in a lot of ways, you know.
To an extent, absolutely.
Yeah, and we have to remember that this is also like a sequel as well. So a lot of the previous films that we have seen, you know, it like the character work has been built up, and now we're seeing a different kind of story. So, you know, like you're seeing the ghost of his past haunting him. You know, you're not hearing it. And I'm not saying like you couldn't have a dialogue scene where he talks about his past.
Yeah.
But for this film, I just feel like it wouldn't have fit the tone that well.
Yeah.
And it obviously, you know, heavy dialogue stuff can be done well. I mean, look at any Tarantino film ever. You know what I'm saying? I love me some good dialogue. But the way this film works, and you just, you know, he's not much of a talker. He's a bit of a social, you know, outcast. I mean, everyone kind of is, but, you know, he's just been isolated in this, like, barren wasteland. It makes sense why he acts the way he acts. Like, again, camera work and all the technical stuff is utilized only and first and foremost for characterization in the story. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, he doesn't do the camera and the technical stuff doesn't do anything that's not necessary for the story, in my opinion.
No, that's absolutely true, but I gotta clarify that, because you said all they do is they do it for the character, and you're right, but something that is done really specifically in cinematography and editing, that's definitely been planned, and that's kind of why the movie looks and feels the way it does. A lot of that cinematography decision is done for speed. And by that I mean like
yeah, rhythm.
Yeah, it's rhythm. Like the speed is achieved that way so that you can release all of that information about the action that is happening and contain it there and still have time for character moments. And I'm thinking of like, you know, and that kind of pacing pays off really well in a character, like you said. Like the moment alone where Tom Hardy's like gets that gun when he fights Furiosa for the first time, and just as he grabs it, he gets a vision of like the cars running over kids, and that shot is there for less than a second. Like it's a fraction of a second. We would not have
like you
known
might not
what it was.
you might not even pick it up the first time you watch it.
Exactly.
But it's like there.
But it delivers though. Like, you know what I mean? And that's the technique. That's the excellency of people who made this and who put this together. So if you're ever making an action film, watch
cinema.
that shit. That's cinema.
Oh yeah.
And I don't mean it unironically.
I'm saying this in a totally unironic way, but you honestly could teach like an entire course of cinematography, color grading, lighting, and all of that stuff, and make the entire class centered around Mad Max Fury Road.
Absolutely, because the plot in here is super straightforward because it's literally one big car chase. I'm not gonna get into that big of a detail.
Much.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious, eat your heart out.
Honestly, yeah, like Fast and Furious wishes it had that in any of its movies. Maybe the first 3 are really decent, but they're still not this movie. Just because they're very different in nature.
Close.
Well,
they're not even comparable.
This is not a racing film as much as it is, you know, action.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
So,
but it all takes place in a giant, like, fucking chase.
Yeah.
Cars and shit, yeah. it's like, it's not this, but it is this, you know, like.
Yeah. I feel that. So, plot-wise, we have Tom Hardy who gets captured and then used as a blood bag, he happens to be universal blood donor, so he's used to supply Nix's like last living days, supposedly, as he's dying of some kind of illness, because apparently you know, illness is fucking widespread in a post-apocalyptic irradiated wasteland. No shit.
No fucking shit.
Yeah, so in the meantime we are presented with a world where a man named Immortal Joe controls all the water and therefore all the power and like food and shit.
I think it's Immortan Joe.
Yeah, like I kept thinking it's Immortal, but the subtitle said Immortan every time, and I don't understand
it. Could be Immortal, who knows? I mean,
English is not my second language. I interpret a lot. I'm sure it's there's other people who thought it was Immortal too.
Let's just call him Joe.
Yeah, let's just call him Joe. Fuck it. So Joe controls everything. He's an ugly ass motherfucker, but he's like the remnants of the world that was before, of men that want to power grab and treat people as property and shit. You know, just
literally fucking treating people like property.
Furiosa ends up basically posing as a war rig mission where they deliver fuel and water to like other villages on this massive war rig that I think that truck is treated as a character on its own. Like, there's literally shots of that fucker breathing in the beginning of the movie. Like, shortly after, maybe like 30-40 minutes in, there's a shot where sand washes all over it, and then it, like, inhales by opening up the air intakes, and holy fuck, it feels good. Like, that rig feels alive. The cars and all of the vehicles in the movie just feel like their own characters, and holy shit, it's beautiful. But, I mean, that's kind of what delivers part of the aesthetic in a really, really major way. But so Furiosa, posing as like a delivery mission, steals a harem of his wives, like all of them, that wanted to be free, that wanted to go back to a place where Furiosa was from. As Joe finds out that his wives are stolen, he sends literally a fucking war party after them with
literally 3 war parties.
3 war parties from 3 different villages to go and chase them. In the meantime, Nix ties Tom Hardy to the front of his car and goes to chase them ahead of the rest of the gang. They get into...
Because he wants to die so badly.
Yes, he wants to die glorious death of Valhalla, and we feel that. We feel his faith, because holy shit, that first 20 minutes does a lot in terms of teaching about that world and how people live there, and the faith that they have, and that warrior stuff that they have going on. You fucking believe it because of the superb acting and because of all the other parts of it.
It's beyond fucked, though, I have to say.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
The fact that they're that brainwashed that they want to just die so hard, it's like, goddamn.
Yeah, no, man, it's really gory. It's
also like beautiful commentary as well, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a moment. So as we get there, right? Tom Hardy ends up after the storm. They gain some distance on the war parties, but you can literally hear their sound approaching, and that's where the blind metal guy just plays on a fucking guitar suspended.
Yes, Guitar Guy. Guitar Guy is
truck.
the best character of this movie.
Like, yeah, I'm loving this shit.
100%.
Hands down, best shit ever. But
there's drums, there's like guitar, solo shit, like it's insanity, guys.
So after a while, they figure out that they're all gonna die anyway. So Tom Hardy actually ends up joining Furiosa and the wives in their attempt to basically, you know, in a what is now a rescue mission. They go to these mountains where Furiosa previously made a deal to give like 30,000 gallons of fuel or some shit in exchange for the safe passage. They will basically blow up this like cliff and collapse the route that people pursuing her would do. That occurs. More fighting occurs. One of the obviously Joe, you know, catches up to them, and now it's a chase between the war rig that Furiosa is driving and Joe himself. One of the wives of Joe ends up getting killed, and but that gives them more time to basically gain more distance on the rest of the war party. The truck keeps driving, they get stuck in the mud, and Tom Hardy blows up one of the fucking leaders of the village of the bullet farm in a really fucking spectacular fashion. It's like, that scene alone is just glorious, and it's so different color-wise and tone-wise, but it matches the rest of the movie so beautifully.
That was with the tree, right? Where they were trying to propel it out of the mud.
Yep.
Oh yeah, the way it utilized the colors, yeah, that was awesome.
It's so beautiful, and it gave the movie that much needed contrast from being just all yellow to being that, and that was just incredible. Following that, they eventually get past those mud fields, and they're still gaining distance on the rest of the war pursuing parties. Also, like, you know, the deaths of all these people, they're like, maybe we shouldn't, you know, chase them so much because we're wasting resources and shit trying to make all of these vehicles get closer to them and close in. But basically, they make their way to what seems like outskirts of that Canada area that Furiosa kept talking about. Now, and that is followed by the most beautiful dramatic scene I have seen in a very long time, and my favorite piece of, like, my favorite example of a soundtrack describing a feeling and making it just fucking perfect. And I think it was achieved in the editing, but just like, that moment is just pure character. You have Furiosa figuring out, you know, hearing from a handful of people that are still alive from her initial tribe that lived there, basically telling her that it's all gone, and her entire life journey of trying to get back to her homeland that she was abducted from as a child. Yeah, her dream.
Obliterated,
is fucking shattered. There is nothing left to world other than this post-apocalyptic fucking wasteland. There's no hope, and there might be redemption, but fuck redemption, there's no hope. And the way that scene plays out is just so goddamn beautiful. What Max does is he goes like, guys, this is crazy, but we're all in a kind of fucked up situation. We're all looking for redemption. We're all looking for hope. And if we're going there, that's definitely death. But if we turn around and pierce through these 3 war parties that are trying to fucking kill us, we get back into the town that is left undefended. And with that crazy-ass plan, they all just, like, go with it because they realize that is better than driving for 160 days.
Yeah, there's water, there's vegetation there, there's, like, actual people and stuff like that. They can save
what is left of them, because they look fucking ugly. And the whole movie basically culminates in that. They drive back, they spearhead through those war armies, they get killed many, many times over, and some of them get almost killed. And then, in the end of the day, Furiosa actually ends up killing Joe, and it happens really fast, but it's still extremely, extremely satisfying.
And really fucking brutal.
Yeah. No, it's fucking insane.
Like, rips his fucking face off.
Yep. And, you know, then they present his body. Oh, before they get to the town, Tom Hardy actually gives his blood to Furiosa because he's trying his best to allow her to survive, and that's where he has that moment.
Because she got stabbed pretty badly.
Yeah, yeah. And that's where he has a moment where he goes like, Max. My name is Max. That's my name. Like, that's the one time he says something that's not like an animalistic half phrase.
You know, it would have been awesome if he was like, Jeff, my name Jeff.
Jeff Goldblum. And that's the movie. So Furiosa assumes the leader position from what it seems, because she killed Joe, so now she basically controls everything. The water is distributed to all the people. It's very much a happy ending. Like the whole movie is a redemption arc in the end of the day. And it works.
It is. And it's so cool because it's like you get so much from such a visually impressive movie. Like, again, dialogue is at a minimum here, not too much. I mean, it's there, but it's not too much. And we're getting like all these amazing themes, like the idea that the older generation is taking control and corrupting the younger generation's minds into doing things that they wouldn't do to sacrifice themselves for this specific system. But then we see how, that some of the old also wants to help them, and that instead of selfishly going off to live by themselves, they go back to help all those people there to live, to try and prosper and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's a really interesting thing about society, and how in a way like a lot of our world leaders are kind of like leading us to that kind of shit. They're leading us to like people who they say a line in the film where they say people like him destroyed our world or something like that. They're referring.
I gotta say, I actually
forgot what the specific quote was.
Yeah. So they keep saying who killed the world, right?
Yeah.
And obviously it's not Joe who killed it, because Joe is just a byproduct of the apocalypse, right?
Exactly. But it's people like him.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That mentality. It's people like him who, are willing to, pillage and raid, control
of resources, exploitation of the populace, and possession.
Exactly. Exploiting like the natural resources, exploiting the earth and all of that, which is why essentially they killed the earth. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's like a beautiful commentary how the younger generations can inspire some of the older generation into fighting back and trying to take their lives in their hands. And I also think it's, great commentary to show off that, we have to fight for the world that we want. You know what I'm saying? So it's not run by these people.
Especially when the odds are stacked against us.
Exactly. Especially when the odds are stacked against us. And the odds are certainly stacked against our main characters. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that they actually made it like more existential, because the lady had like a collection of seeds from the gardens that they had before everything died, and the collection of those plants, it's like presented to us as humanity's hope to regrow things, right? And Max doesn't really care about it, and neither does any other main character. They have their own arcs to follow, but because we know about it, it just gives it this other layer of like, they're not just trying to save themselves or like a settlement that they're going to. They're trying to save humanity as a whole in hopes for a better future, that makes perfect sense. And
and there's this also like this interesting idea of like the mother figure that kind of pops up a lot in this movie. With mother's milk being like this very precious commodity that they drink and stuff like that, or they use to wash themselves. And then you'll see like these women that have like all these resources and like seeds and beans and crops and stuff like that to help try to regrow Mother Earth. I think it's a very cool thing that this idea of like these fucking people who've destroyed this earth, and Mother Earth, or these mother characters, these mother figures, these women are gonna try to rejuvenate the earth.
And there's a character like Furiosa who just like will never turn her away, because this is her best chance. She's piloting this war rig,
and not only is she trying to run away from Joe and all of them, but she's also trying to run away from her past. She's trying to run away from all of the fucked up inhuman bullshit that she's done in her life, and she's trying to start like, that is how you fucking do proper representation right there. Like, that like you do, whether it be people of color, whether it be women or any, LGBTQ, whatever it is, like you don't do some like bullshit that like, the new trilogy of Star Wars did, you know, with Rey.
I need to shower now, you fuck. Why'd you do that?
But I'm just trying to show you that, like, this is how you do proper.
But this movie is so good, and suddenly there's a taste of shit in my mouth.
Well, don't worry. We're gonna get to all the cinematography stuff. You'll be okay. You're gonna be showered. Don't worry.
Okay,
you're gonna be clean.
Cool.
But that, you know, Furiosa is like an amazing female character.
Yes,
you know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? So yeah, just absolutely incredible. All the characters are incredible. All the performances are amazing. Now let's start jerking off the cinematography. I'm not saying this is universal. I'm not saying that you have to agree with me. I'm not saying that I'm right about any of this or anything like that. But it is of my opinion that films look the best when they're shot practically. When there's practical sets, real people touching things, physical touch, like, and it's not pantomime, you know what I'm saying?
You mean non-CGI, because miniatures are good too.
Oh yeah, miniatures are good, but I'm basically just saying, but you know, it's still like it's a thing that you see, that you've created, that you're using, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And for miniatures, but for this film, it's probably mostly practical. No. I mean, they shot in a real desert. They utilized real sets. All the driving stuff like that was done. That was all real. And it just makes the film look so much better as well because of it. Your real explosions are happening and all that kind of stuff. And that's the fun part about this, is that instead of trying to work on it in post and trying to create explosions or anything like that, you get to work on making all of the explosions.
You get to blow shit up for real.
Anarchy. You get to saturate it. You get to show off the colors. You get to make it look so cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is what you do. Like that, Igor. Yeah. Let's say it for them. That is cinema. You know what I'm saying?
Blowing shit up is an inherent part of filmmaking. And if it's
exactly.
done well,
who doesn't want to blow
beautiful.
Shit up?
Yep.
Exactly. I mean, even Michael Bay knows this. Come on, guys.
He's literally the guy. Like, all he did was blow shit up on camera. Like,
I mean, yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying,
most of it is
like,
CG.
you'll get like cringe Marvel films, or like fucking everything's just CGI.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress. Everything that's important in the film is in the center frame. Everything.
Yeah.
That's important in the film. All of the information that you need to know. Anything that you need to know that's happening, it's all framed in the middle. You have things that are in the sides, right? You know, like, you know, other little details to help with world building, to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
But everything that's important to see, even the first shot of the film is in the center. Let's take a look at the opening of, you know, action scene. And, you know, like, he's trying to run away from, you know, what are they called again? I forget. Like
he's trying to run away from a lot of people there. Which
the grunts. Like they're colored in white. What the fuck are they?
Oh yeah. I think it's the grunts.
Yeah, the grunts. Whatever the fuck. I'll just call them the grunts.
The war boys.
The war boys, exactly. Yeah, the war boys and stuff like that. And there's a specific shot in there where, like, you know, he runs away from them. He pushes one off of him and he throws him into the water where all the other war boys are.
Yeah.
But instead of like cutting immediately to him running away, they linger on the war boys, so you know how many of them are coming. Like, again, this film's reveal of information is done such a beautiful way, and it's done all visually. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And it just gives you like everything that you need to know in the center frame, and it's such a cool thing that they did that. I mean,
you know,
it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane, you know.
This is gonna sound really wild, but I kind of want to compare that scene with the first scene of Fellowship of the Ring, where Gandalf and Frodo are basically in that carriage and talking to each other.
Yeah.
But because the reason why I'm bringing it up is because it's the same exact concept, and because the movies are so different in nature, you can see how the storytelling makes it work. Because every shot that you see that is from like around the surrounding areas between Gandalf and Frodo features at least one detail of that world, or at least one other character of that world. So with every shot, we discover at least 2 or 3 new things that we did not learn from any previous shot. So that release of visual information about the world is happening simultaneously with that character introduction. And just like in this case, right, we have introduction of Tom Hardy's mental state and how Max is doing and how that world is working. It also teaches us how to watch the movie, but it also, you know, lingers on moments where, like, there's plants above him, they're growing shit, there's water underneath them. they're watering
exactly.
shit. You
like
know?
and you don't even say they don't even say this is where Joe resides, he's our god, he's this and that. We all see it.
Exactly.
We see how many war boys they are desperately trying to hang on to him. We see how they're going to try to brand him, and then we see once he gets outside, that same branding thing that he was going to get on his body, we see it right there on this other like giant stone pillar mountain thing, and it's all visually shown to us. And I'm not saying that like center frame has to be the way that you shoot something. You don't have to do that at all. Actually, a TV show that I greatly respect, especially in its terms of cinematography, the characters are actually shoved into like the corner of the frame a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Or a specific character, they're only their head is in the frame and stuff like that. It's all dependent on what you want to tell your story.
Yeah.
But because this story is so fast paced and so it goes, everything's centered in the frame, so you never feel like you're disoriented. So although there's a lot of information and a lot of things happening, you can still keep track of what's going on.
The set building is just insane, right? Because the design of those war machines has to be superb, and because that's what makes the movie into what it is, right? And obviously, like the spiky cars and all of that stuff, like they were all inspired by the war rigs that we saw in the previous movies, because they have to be like equally ridiculous. I'm gonna link in the description the video where that breaks it down more thoroughly, where they actually interview people who made those cars for the movie.
Oh yeah, I mean they deserve humongous props as well. They need literally props. To be celebrated. Oh god damn it.
It's just like Immortal Joe's car, for example, right? It's two massive, I think, Cadillacs fused together, because, like, you know, if the rich guy or a powerful man has one of everything, the only way to top that is by having two of everything. So his car has two sets of wheels in the back, two bodies of two cars fused together, and it's a fucking roaring monster, you know? It's supposed to stand out like that. Then you have, I mean, every vehicle deserves its own breakdown, but like I just want to talk about the main like war truck. There was two of every truck that they made. One of them for exterior shots of that thing actually driving high-speed pursuit, and then another one for just interior shots where it's stationary and you're putting actors into the cabin and you're getting all of those close-ups and all the action that's happening inside. Really simplifies the production process as much as it can be simplified. It was a fucking nightmare for most people that were in it, because they were just literally in the desert the entire fucking time, completely cut out from the rest of the world. But yeah, like I'm just saying that the set building and the set design have elevated this movie so much from the BDSM weird induced nightmare that the previous movies are, where things kind of come together but not really, you know, into a really coherent world. And acting, set design, cinematography, story, and pieces all come together so beautifully to just paint that shit for us, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
I love this movie. This movie was so fucking overdue on this channel. I'm gonna be making so many Mad Max references from now on, you have no fucking idea. This movie is beautiful. Like,
and another thing, this movie is super underrated and that no one talks about, because we all just collectively circle jerk its cinematography, which is a very well-deserved circle jerk, might I add. But it's fucking sound scoring, dude. Yeah. Like, holy
it's a sound editing, dude. Like, there's a scene where I have never heard an effect that was quieter than that made me feel so much at once. When you hear the war drums playing in the background while Tom Hardy is arguing with the women that get rescued in Furiosa over who's gonna be driving and shit, like, at the beginning of the scene, you just hear that thumping in the back, and you see a shot of them being on the horizon, and you're like, ah, shit, they're approaching. And then 2 minutes later, that same sound, now with the guitar, slightly, like ever so slightly more vivid, and you're like, oh no, they're that much closer. And because you know exactly how scary they are, you know, like less is more, and that's where this movie truly shines. It's moments like this that I think make this movie stand out.
For me, like I love it when a film or a filmmaker has just mastered the basics of storytelling, cinematography, lighting, sound editing, all that kind of stuff. and you can build upon that. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Like that is perfection right there. That is true cinema. Like it's kind of a perfect movie. Like,
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
In a lot of
like,
ways.
I don't think there's much that's not done really well. I mean,
Yeah.
you could argue that there's a few dumb moments, like why didn't, like when they were fighting one of the sons, why didn't the chick shoot him in the head instead of shooting off one of his like pack things? But I mean, let's be honest here. Do we really give a fuck?
We do not give a fuck.
We don't give a fuck.
I can tell you that,
and like,
I found a continuity error when we watched it this time. This was like my 7th time watching it. I don't give a fuck if it's a continuity error.
Who gives a shit? Yeah. Like, okay, I think sometimes people get, like, YouTube reviewers wrong. Like, I'm not trying to cape for all of us, because, like, I think there are ones that are out there that are just, like, don't know what the fuck they're talking about, or at least they're just like, it's like, really, you're gonna be that nitpicky? Like, come on now. You know what I'm saying? Like, show me your film. I'm not gonna fucking say that. I'm not CinemaSins. But
we're not fucking assholes. We love movies.
Yeah.
That's the thing, guys. We love movies, and we want to talk about why
we love
they
this
work.
Shit, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly.
How to make it better.
Like, and
how to elevate everyone's standards. I want, like, I gotta be fucking honest with you. I would love to live in a world where people who go to the movie theater actually, like, just generally have a higher standard. I know there's people there who have a high standard for movies. There's people like you and I who just want to watch shit and enjoy it. But if more people just had a better film literacy, so they could understand when they're being fed some bullshit that's been half-assed, that is like quote-unquote entertainment but not really, and when they're being given something that can actually, you know, touch them or make them feel things they would never feel before, or a movie that is a literal roller coaster like this one, right? Like, if the demand of the public was higher, we would get way less shitty DC movies. No offense. And you know, and more
and Marvel,
stuff like
to be
this.
honest, too, or like complete mediocrity for, you know, not all Marvel movies.
Exactly.
But you know what I'm saying, like, you want to strive for the best, and like that's the thing, like that's my criteria. Not like I want to be entertained, I want to learn something, and I want the people who make this shit to care and to put their all into it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not like a snooty, you know, mustache rolling, you know, film critic and stuff like that wants to hate on something. I'm not Ego from like fucking Ratatouille. I think you guys would be surprised how casual I can get when I'm watching a movie. How I just want to turn off my brain and be thoroughly entertained. Like later on, I'll turn my filmmaking brain on and be like, wait a minute, that was kind of shit. But I really want to be entertained. I really want to have a good time with this shit. And the more well-made it is, and the more that these people care about what they're doing in the filmmaking process, the more entertained I am. They put their all into it, which makes me want to put my all into it when I enjoy it and watch it and praise it like this. You know what I'm saying?
And I think, like, a really good way to conclude this, and again, like, you know, Mad Max is a grail for me personally in many ways, because it's a really good, not a holy grail, but a grail, you know? It's a really good vantage point.
I call it a whole... It depends on what, but I'd say for some specific parts, it's a holy grail. To me, it's a really good vantage point to compare, like, okay, Mad Max did sound editing really well. How scene transitions, for example. And I'm like, all right, has this movie even thought about doing that? I don't, you know, whether or not. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that Mad Max is one of those movies you can learn a lot from as a filmmaker. And you really can.
I guess, like, what's really important about this film and why we want to talk about it in the way we do is because millions and millions of dollars are being spent making those movies. And if you're having an idea that is going to be, you know, that much money is going to be put into, it's better be $1 million idea. And this movie, with this idea and its execution, justifies its budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And others don't. There are movies out there that, you know, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars are spent on, whose ideas are not worth a fucking penny because they fucking suck. And, you know, for whatever reason, politics of the studios or shitty writing or combination of both and a whole bunch of other shit, right? There are movies that get it right. There are movies that are worth the money that are being put into them.
Alright, thank you everybody for watching the video. If you liked it, like and subscribe, of course. Check out Igor's hat. If you want more of his hat, let us know in the comments and shit like that. And we'll talk to y'all later. Peace out, everybody.
Take care.